Hello. The Generalszug is a road, or maybe a collection of roads in West Berlin, stretching between the Kaiser Wilhelm Gedächtniskirche on the Kudamm and the large church, which was originally a garrison church on Südstern, at the eastern edge of Gneisenaustrasse. The road was built during the Second Reich. By that I mean the period between 1871 and the First World War. But is named in remembrance of the Napoleonic Wars 70 years beforehand. Plans for the road did exist before the Second Reich, but it is still anachronistic to name it after personalities and events in the Napoleonic period. I mean, to my mind, it's a bit like the statues of Confederate generals which were erected in America in the 1910s and 1920s. I mean, you can see this tendency elsewhere as well, which I don't think is particularly healthy. I don't really want to go off on a tangent and say too much about this aspect, but I felt I need to say something about it anyway, because, I mean, this is the alternative guidebook. I just don't want to reproduce the standard narrative. Now, this map shows the original plan. And you can see from the legend that the roads are named after several generals: Tauentziehen, Kleist, Bulow, York and Gneisenau. Intervening squares, which are numbered on this plan, are named after battles. To orientate yourself onto the present-day city, Leipziger Platz is shown at the top, and the road leading away from it to the south is Potsdamer Straße. The road shown in white on the right half of the picture offers a deviation to more genuine reminders of the said war. Going south leads us to Kreuzberg, marked by a cross on the map, where an official monument was laid out on a hill in 1821, topped by a cross designed by Schinkel. This gave the name Kreuzberg to the hill, and thus indirectly to the present-day Bezirk. Going northwards from the same spot leads to Belle Allianceplatz. You go along Belle Alliancestrasse, marked as BA on the map. Belle Alliance is an alternative name for Waterloo. However, nowadays both the Platz and the Strasse are named after Mehring, or Franz Mehring in full, a socialist leader. Both Belle Allianceplatz and Leipziger Platz lay adjacent to a gate on the Zollmauer, i.e. the customs wall, and that wall appears to still be shown on this map, although it was demolished around the time in question. Leipziger Platz was named after a battle of 1813, which definitively halted the advances of French troops. Now, going back to the road in question, the one that we're talking about, straddling the centre point of the avenue and named in honour of Blücher, you can see railway lines running away from the Potsdamer Bahnhof to the left and the Anhalter Bahnhof to the right. And it was the railways which put paid to this centrepiece. This map shows the road as it was actually built. The intended centre portion was used by the railways for their goods yards, and the road forming the deviation to the south of the curve was narrower than the planners would no doubt have liked. Narrower because of the great number of railway bridges crossing over it. At one time there were 45 bridges, and today I believe there are still 29. You can just about see the Kaiser Wilhelm Gedächtniskirche on this picture, which I have said marks the western point of the Generalszug. This photo was taken on Tauentzienstrasse. Formerly the Kudamm followed the present-day Budapester Strasse up to the east-west axis, running away from the Brandenburg Gate, which was in line with the alleged role originally as a way from the royal palace to a royal residence in the Grunewald. Nowadays, in more recent times, the Tauentzien, for short, tends to be considered as a possible extension and part of the Kudamm. Now, I find this interesting picture from immediately after the war to be interesting in the sense that you can see from the missing ceiling to the U-Bahn, it just shows how shallow the tunnel is. This is Wittenbergplatz, with the Kaiser Wilhelm Church in the distance, showing how it looked before it was bombed. In the foreground is the U-Bahn station. This station was opened in 1902 on Berlin's first metro line. And this is a view looking south. This photo appears to have been taken from the KaDeWe building. KaDeWe Kaufhaus des Westens is a large department store which opened here in 1907. This is the entrance hall to the U-Bahn station, which is decorated in a manner consistent with its appearance in 1913, when it was rebuilt to be appropriate for the neighbouring KaDeWe establishment. The station is served by 3 lines, which is unusual, the U1, U2 and U3. And this is a plan of the original Berlin U-Bahn of 1902. Wittenbergplatz lay at the western end of this first U-Bahn. Paradoxically, this line was a largely elevated section, but went underground between Nollendorfplatz and Wittenbergplatz. The lines built before the First World War form the basis for today's U1, U2, U3 and U4. And this diagram attempts to show how the present-day lines are related to the original line of 1902. Both the U1 and U3 start at Warschauer Brücke, but after Gleisdreieck, they follow a parallel underground section constructed in the 1920s through Kurfürstenstrasse. After leaving Wittenbergplatz, the U1 continues to the Kudamm and Ulandstrasse, while the U3 goes to the southwestern suburbs. The U2 comes in from Prenzlauer Berg through Potsdamer Platz and Bülowstrasse, right through to the Knie, which is the present-day Ernst-Reuter-Platz. And today the U2 travels as far as Ruhr-Leben, close to the Olympic Stadium. This shows Nollendorfplatz and the elevated railway running away to Bülowstrasse in the distance. The U4 underground line runs between here and Innsbrucker Platz through Schönberg. The station thus beats Wittenbergplatz by serving 4 lines. The U2 travels along the elevated section, while the platforms for the U1, U3 and U4 are below ground. On Nollendorfplatz you'll find the Metropole nightclub, which started out in 1905 as a theatre called the Neues Schauspielhaus. And I've seen many famous names make use of it during its time, both as a theatre and as a music hall stroke nightclub. This is an early view of Bülowstrasse station, with Potsdamer Strasse running left to right. Nowadays this line carries the U2, but during the 1970s and 1980s, this section was disused, with both the stations at Nollendorfplatz and Bülowstrasse being used as flea markets. Bülowstrasse was known as the Turkish Bazaar. Although in fact the section was used for an old tram which ran along this section connecting the 2 stations. On this photo in the background you can see the American church on Dennewitzplatz. Formerly there was an American church on Nollendorfplatz, which was demolished because of war damage. Several buildings along Bülowstrasse possess artistic facades. The northern side has long been a red light district, but although the main traffic is concentrated along the parallel street of Kurfürstenstrasse. To the east of Potsdamer Strasse, as already explained, the road diverges from a straight line and curves to the south. This curve is referred to as Bülowbogen, and it curves around Dennewitzplatz. As the road curves to the south, the railway heads off in an opposite direction, and in former times it went right through a building, a not uncommon sight in Berlin at the time. And this site no longer exists. This is how it looks today. This is Yorkstrasse with its many railway bridges, 29 in total, only 10 of which are still in use. The others have protected status, and some are used for pedestrian and cyclist routes, connecting the park areas either side of the bridges. On the northern side, it is possible to follow the original intended route of the road through the parkland. My own experience of this area before 1990 was that we were told that the authorities wanted to demolish the unused bridges, but were not allowed to do so by the East Germans who ran the railways. But nevertheless, the bridges are still there despite subsequent events. I also mentioned that at the junction between Yorkstrasse and Gneisenaustrasse, Belle-Alliance-Strasse led away to Belle-Alliance-Platz, where the monument unveiled in 1843 to commemorate the Battle of Waterloo still remains on today's Marienplatz. This old print shows it at a time when the Platz was known as the Rondel, for obvious reasons. Going in the opposite direction to that of Marienplatz, along Grossbeerenstrasse, leads to the Kreuzberg Hill and its memorial to the Napoleonic Wars. This shows the Kreuzberg along Grossbeerenstrasse, where the monument is just about visible, along with the artificial waterfall, which has dried up here, but that might be a bit hard to see on this photo. Grossbeeren was the battle which prevented French troops from occupying Berlin in 1813. The overall commander of the armies, the Swedish commander Bernadotte, wanted to draw the French northwards, but the Prussian commanders refused to allow Berlin to come into danger and resisted the French. And this is the church on Südstern. It was originally a garrison church and typical of several large churches built in Berlin during the 1890s. Latterly, it became a Serbian Orthodox church, but is now a free church called the Christlicher Zentrum Berlin. Right, well, as always, thank you very much if you're still with me, and hope you enjoyed my little talk. If I can just finish off by mentioning my book on the topic. It's called Berlin, an A to Z Compendium. And obviously you can get it on Amazon, but if you want to go to www.bd99.co.uk, you can get details there as well. That's www.bd99.co.uk. Okay, thanks very much.